Hola, bienvenidos. El submission de domingo 32. This is Ed Carbajal, Sunday submission number 32 for MMAnews.com. Dragon ass here on a Sunday, gloomy Sunday here in New Jersey. The Sunday after UFC Vegas 20 and Canelo. I don't want to butcher my man's last name. Yildirim. I hope you guys are doing all right on this fine Sunday afternoon. Before we get going, make sure you check out where this video lives over at the MMAnews.com YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, click the bell notification. We had interviews with the two main event competitors from last night, Cyril Gane and Jaron Zeno Rosenstrike. As you know by now, the result, Gane won last night against Rosenstrike. Broadcasting this on my own Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Carbazal, where I usually live tweet the events if I'm watching them. If you watched last week's, you know I was nursing which is now cleared up, as you can see, infection that I had on my hand. So I'll be able to do more tweeting and stuff as we approach the upcoming weekend, UFC 259. So right on schedule. Before we get into everything that happened with UFC 20, UFC Vegas 20, I wanted to just really quick talk about Canelo Yildirim. Hopefully I'm not butchering that. Third round TKO. I mean, I felt like as we went into the weekend, there wasn't a lot of hype that we would get off of a UFC Vegas. I'm sorry, of Canelo boxing on. Usually, I feel like there's more hype when we come to it to a boxing event like that. I mean, and some I just didn't feel that aura of you know. What am I looking? What's the word I'm looking for? The hype that comes with when Canelo's facing somebody. I just didn't feel it. And then there was like Chris Eubanks tweeted earlier that morning, you know, that he just was like what are we watching here? You know, with a guy that I knocked out in whatever round. You know, he kind of downplayed the event. And Canelo got a beautiful finish, third round TKO. Actually, you know what? I want to bring that up. I was going to share the MMAnews.com screen, but let me bring that up before we before we move on to the UFC news, because the Zone Boxing put up the highlight. So let me bring that up on the screen here, so you guys can look at the TKO finish that happened. Give me 1 second. Bring it up from Twitter. Here we go. Right there. Rip into the body, and then he goes right down the middle. Oh, I mean, he was shaking his head, but you know, like he was all right. But the finish was inevitable. Look at that. Wow. Crazy to see, but I mean, so it just seems like the consensus of the matchup, and now he's supposed to face Billy Joe Saunders, I believe, in May, and it just looks like the matchup, like folks weren't happy with the matchup. It kind of, I don't want to say it came out of the blue, but it just seemed like folks didn't you know, the buzz wasn't there for it. Kind of a gloomy, I mean, I know I'm talking about how it's gloomy here in Jersey, but it was kind of a gloomy weekend as a whole for combat sports. Real quick, as I touched my mic, I remember, if you thought my audio sounded funny last weekend, it's because my dumbass did the whole thing with this on my head and not plugged into my laptop. So sorry about that. I should sound a lot better now. Again, nursing an illness, you know, you get that brain fart, especially when you're my age. You just get old and stupid, and that's what happened to me. But I think the whole thing with the if it seemed like it was an underwhelming hype and underwhelming event, I mean, we seem to keep having to jump back to COVID related and COVID matchmaking, as I've been calling it since it started. Like, we're going to see these matches that, of course you want to see. I mean, first of all, if someone like Yoder is even consideration, that means they're legitimate enough to fight the man. You know what I mean? You get these guys that hold, they fight and defend titles for so long, they get put on the pedestal, and it looks like you only want to see these great super fights, which is fine. If we were in a world where normal matchmaking can happen, but I mean, fighters have to fight, the promoters have to promote events. So when it comes right down to it, and we saw it a lot with the UFC. I mean, when you see guys that like Hamzat Chimaev that came out of nowhere, it was because they had to pull these available fighters because they were logistically available, plus they're talented enough so to make the fights happen. So it's either that or you get nothing and you wait forever, and Canelo gets fat sitting home, and you know what I mean, and starts losing the greatness that is within him. It's to be good at anything, you have to continue to do it. You can't just hit a peak and then let yourself go. I mean, even Ruiz, when he beat Joshua in the heavyweight, when he beat Andy Ruiz, when he beat Joshua, admitted that he let the comfort of getting that win and being the underdog and then getting that win is why he didn't do as well as he had hoped in their rematch. So, I mean, this is what we're going to get for a little while until, things with COVID lighten up and what have you. So I feel like we need to just, it's either we get the fights that we're getting for now or we get nothing, you know what I mean? And we're going to be bored out of our minds, and then, I mean, in the fight game, anything can happen. So as we saw with that fight with Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua when he first won. So preparation makes for something great, and as long as these guys can keep their blades sharp and compete, I think we're gonna see more matches that we're not really expecting. But it's just the state of the world we're in. Hopefully, as with all the news, vaccinations and things like that coming out, hopefully things improve. But for now, let's enjoy what we're getting, right? I mean, it's either that or go crazy. And I know I probably sound like a company man or whatever when I say that, but listen, I mean, I know I would lose track of calendar dates and stuff like that if nothing was going on. So I, for one, appreciate it. And, it made for a nice highlight, right? Nice highlight when, and the Canelo's busier than he's ever been, with everything going on. It's funny that the Zone keeps featuring us because we know when his trainer announced the free agency thing and stuff like that not so long ago, it seemed like that lit the spark to get something happening. So, it might be too little too late as far as the Zone subscribers and boxing fans are concerned. But, I like to be a little more positive than that. It's better than nothing, right? All right, so let's get to UFC Vegas news. Again, we had on the MMAnews.com YouTube channel, we had interviews with both main event guys, courtesy of James Lynch. So make sure you go check those out. I wrote a couple of pieces on them before the fight happened. And then for UFC Vegas 21, we have your boy Eric Anders interview on this YouTube channel. So again, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. And I'll stop pitching that so I don't get on anybody's nerves. So let's bring up the news from last night, right? All right, here we go. Of course, I mean, it's almost like I'm running my mouth so much to the point with this COVID thing and COVID matchmaking, but it happened, right? You can see here, this happened day of, right? Was it day of? 27th. The Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoder 2 was off of the card because of one of Yoder's cornermen tested positive. Yoder put up a video apologizing and explaining herself. The UFC says that they're moving it to the Edwards Muhammad Fight Night card, which is March 13th. So hopefully that clears up thing. I mean, thankfully it wasn't the fighters, right? You got to look at the bright side of things. A couple other things happened. Ramzan Kura Magomedov had to be removed from the bout because he was deemed medically unfit. So the bout with Alex Oliveira was canceled, and then COVID-19 positive COVID-19 test removed William Knight and Alonzo Menafield, which I think folks knew about as we were going into it. So 3 fights took a hit. I mean, I know. Listen, if Dana White wasn't bald going into COVID, he would have probably lost his hair this year. It's just it's not unheard of, but the volume of I would say losing fights between the Wednesday of fight week and main event, it just seems to be the case. It's like you hear that term, the new normal, all the time. And it seems to be the new normal with, shoot. It just seems to be the new normal with the way moving forward with events is. And I know I mentioned it a lot, but it's in the news, so it's going to be mentioned for a while. So UFC Vegas 20 results: Cyril Gane decision, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. First, I have to say that I, for one, had the wrong bad picks for me on this fight card. I mean, I know it was mostly decisions, which I'm not a fan of. I like to see finishes. The only TKO finish was the Rodney Lawrence Vince Cachero fight, which I think made the highlight reels of the UFC's social media stream. There was a draw on the There was a draw on the a majority draw in the main card with the women's flyweight bout between Montana De La Rosa and Maria Bueno. The most fire fight of the night seemed to be Pedro Munoz versus Jimmy Rivero, which was one of the ones I did get right. I did have Munoz picked to win, as much as it pained me to do so, because Jimmy Rivero is a fighter from the Northeast out here, Tiger Schulman's guy. And if you've never read Raw Combat by Jim Genia, you can see that you can read a little bit of the history of the following of the Tiger Schulman fighters, that come out of Shane Burgos is one of those guys coming out of this region that the Northeast guys like to root for. So, but damn it if they didn't fight, for earning a fight of the night performance that I believe that they got. Let me close that one out. And one of the things I wanted to say as far as my wrong prediction goes for this event, the main event, I thought Rozenstruik was going to win only because of his striking overall combat sports experience versus Cyril Gane. I had to do my homework when I wrote the pieces about their interviews. So I did enough research that on paper it seemed like Rozenstruik could pull off the win. But it just goes to show you, I mean, whether you're a master in mixed martial art, coming from wrestling or some sort of submission grappling or some high-level striking, be it boxing or kickboxing like Rozenstruik was, his overall combat sports experience seemed to trump that of Cyril Gane's. And that's the only reason why I thought he could pull off some sort of victory. I was obviously wrong. And which goes to show you that and I know I've talked about this before, the definition of fighting changes when you come under mixed martial arts rules. And I think that's why so many folks scratch their heads and kick their feet when you see these the boxing MMA crosses overs, because there's more of, like, when if a boxer goes into an MMA fight against an MMA fighter that has more experience, of course the MMA fighter is going to win. He's going to find a way to get the buy. I mean, we saw it again. You just have to look at UFC 1. Like, when you look at the guys, it was martial artists versus martial artists before they were officially became mixed. It was people from other fighting disciplines that were bested by people that took them out of their comfort zones. There was a boxer in UFC 1 that went against Royce Gracie. One Glove, what the hell's his name? Why is his name slipping my mind now? I should have taken an alpha brain before I did this. But he just did better when he just did better. Royce Gracie did as well as he did because he took folks out of their comfort zones, and that it's something that mixed martial arts, when you look at the combat sports, martial arts, no matter what your discipline is as a whole, is a chess game, right? Whether it be striking, grappling, it's always trying to do the moves that makes the opponent fight your fight. And so if you have a way to outpace them, outstrike them, or what have you, you're going to win. And it's funny that I'm mentioning the pace because, with that division, and John Jones making his move. John Jones tweeted out something that I'm sure 1,000 articles are going to be popping up this weekend over, because he was watching the fight. I'm trying to find it because I know I shared it myself. I'm guilty of it. As he was watching the fight, John Jones was like, you guys are going to have to pick up your pace because there we go. These boys better get used to pushing the pace. All this standing around ain't going to fly when daddy comes home. That's John Jones referring to himself as daddy as he was watching the main event. And I know the complaint about the overall card was the pacing because of all the decisions, and especially the main event. Listen, we'll see how John Jones does when he's fighting at that weight and goes through heavyweight camp and feels the pressure and the pace of those guys. And the only reason why it's kind of like a it's hard not to favor Jones in his in the fight that he's going to be having, with whomever when he moves to heavyweight, is because he's fought someone that he's fought a heavyweight that came down. So who knows how different it is going to be with him going up. I think Daniel Cormier's analysis and predictions when he makes his opinions is probably the most notable ones, because he's someone that's been a champion. He's felt the differences of those guys, and I think he's leaned on the side of it's going to be dangerous for John Jones at heavyweight, despite what you saw in that fight. Fighters like the champion Stipe Miocic are guys that don't move like heavyweights are the ones that are going to be the ones that Cain Velasquez was one of those guys that just had that output, and so I kind of see where John Jones is coming from with that tweet. But it's definitely something that we're going to have. It's a wait and see type of thing. Like, we got to see when you get there, my man. I mean, not for nothing. I know you're probably one of the most amazing combat sports athletes that have graced the cage in this sport. But we'll see. As far as being the natural, taking to the sport the way he has. But never mind all the other bullshit that everyone likes to bring up. I mean, he's still one of my great memories of John Jones is when he won the title here in Newark. I mean, my man Hunter Homestead was just talking about that not too long ago on social media over at the Brawl Network, and it's still one of my if I had to check one of the great moments in MMA history, it's that one. He foiled a robbery and won the title, and then it's seemingly unbeatable except by himself up until then. So shout out to John Jones for making the move to heavyweight to make things interesting. But let's get back to this card. So one of the other things, the scorecard of that came out to a majority draw. There's Eric Colon looks like he scored it 27. So Sal D'Amato and Eric Colon scored it 27-28. Or 28-20. Sal D'Amato scored 28-28, 27-28 from Eric Colon, and Derek Cleary 28-28 for the fight that was a draw. Listen, we don't get that many, so I was surprised at that one. I mean, maybe it was a pacing or whatever. Again, I know guys weren't too hot on last night's card, but that's usually, I feel like sometimes that's the case before leading up to a pay-per-view, especially when you have too many fight nights events leading up to a pay-per-view of the magnitude of what we're about to see this coming weekend. And before I close this week's Sunday submission out, I do want to do my predictions for that as we look at the main card, because there's 3 title fights on it. So we on the East Coast, you better be prepared for a long night. 3 title fights. against the people that are competing. It's definitely going to be, and since I record the 7 takeaways, it's going to be afterwards. We do a predictions piece up at MMAnews.com, but since I do a predictions piece, since I'm not going to do this video until after, it'll be the 7 takeaways that I do for every pay-per-view event. I want to just give a quick preview or prediction of UFC 259 as we look ahead at the fight card coming up. Let me just skim through these results real quick. I don't think there's, outside of the Cachero, the draw, the Rivero Munoz fight in the main event, there's not much left there for me to go over. So just there's going to be a press conference on Wednesday or Thursday for UFC 259. So expect a lot, but here's the thing, man. As well, I addressed it a bunch of times on the on this Sunday submission. We have to expect fights to fall out. With 3 title fights, I feel like it's a big gamble for the UFC to put that on. So, we have the light heavyweight, the featherweight, and the bantamweight title. And it's just weird. People are already commenting on the marketing. The card for UFC 259 is pretty stacked from top to bottom. I mean, Tim Elliott's on the top of the prelims. Tim Elliott versus Jordan Espinoza. I mean, Tim Elliott's a fun fighter to watch for me personally. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the flyweights, the men's flyweight division is definitely got a renewed what's the word I'm looking for? Fire, interest. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But as I'm looking at the current lineup for UFC 259, there's a lot of there's 3 flyweights: Joseph Benavidez, Askar Askarov, Rogerio Bontorin. I don't know how else to. The Tim Elliott Espinoza I already mentioned, Kai Kara France, Rogerio Bontorin. It looks like we're going to see some interesting future flyweight matchups once that fight is done. Hopefully, we don't lose any of these fights. But without going too deep into the card, because again, I mean, hopefully we don't lose. Hopefully, we don't lose anything. The main event is still a 5-fight main card with the 3 title fights. So, as we know, title fights go 5 rounds apiece, and with these matchups, I like to be as objective as possible, so I don't want to say something and offend anybody's favorite fighters or the fighters themselves because we look at the card. So I mean, when you're looking at the bantamweight title fight, long overdue, Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. These two have been going at each other on social media for the longest. I mean, Jesus, how long has it been? I mean, I know it got pushed back. I mean, Yan had some stuff happen that they had to be pushed back, so we're getting it now. Aljamain Sterling has been grinding for this shot for what seems like forever. So it's long overdue. I'm biased. You hear me talk about my region coming from the Northeast, New Jersey, New York, martial artists like Sarah Black Belt in Aljamain Sterling. It's hard for me not to root for the local boy. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan. I've been a big fan. I've actually met him a couple times. He probably doesn't even remember. But big fan of Aljamain Sterling's, watching his journey, through to get this shot. I feel like he could grind out a victory. I know he's got the ectomorph body type that I've talked about in the past. I feel like he can give Yan some trouble, but I know Peter Yan is no slouch either. Given his path to his title shot, and the scrapper that he is, you know what I mean? I mean, he's of his 15 wins. I mean, he's got 1 submission win. He's got 7 decisions and 7 knockouts. So he can definitely get it done anywhere. But when you look at when you look at Aljo, who most fans like that have been following forever, Aljamain Sterling, you know, he's got a better I don't know, he just seems to have more of what is necessary to beat in my when you're looking at their dimensions, and I just feel like he's got the drive and he seems to have gotten more introspective when he looks at his own his fights, especially when he got that loss by Marlon Moraes. He took the time that he needed to kind of like get over it, reevaluate his situation, and evolve as a martial artist. And I know people like to give him crap because I mean, he's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He beat Jimmy Rivera, he beat Cody Stamann, Brett Johns, Pedro Munoz. He beat both Rivera and Munoz. But those 3 of those victories were decision wins. And as I said, I know I'm one of those guys that are critical of guys that you know, I prefer the finishes over. I prefer finishes, submission, knockouts over decision wins. But Sterling is very calculated. You know, like when you watch him mix up the striking and the takedowns and stuff like that to grind out a decision, stuff like that is fun to watch. So I just feel like he's really he's the best. He's in his prime, the best he's ever been from what I've seen. If anything, that loss to Moraes has helped him evolve to be the fighter that's getting this shot right now. So my pick before you know, giving it away now, I'm picking Sterling to get that probably by decision, and I'm not going to be mad at it if he does it the way he's been doing it. So the fight with co-main event women's featherweight title, Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson. I've been watching Megan Anderson come up since before she signed with the UFC, fighting in Invicta. She won a title there. She's definitely, I feel like she might have, you know, Amanda Nunes, because she does the 2 divisions, and sometimes it's hard to gauge her dimensions versus Megan Anderson because she's put on, you know, she's taking the time to put on the muscle weight and power to do the featherweight. She'll step away, cut, do a healthy cut to go to defend her the 135. So she's back and forth. You know, she's champ. I mean, the lioness she's not the lioness for nothing. The thing with Anderson, and I like Megan Anderson. I like her a lot. She does have a chance to win it. I know she's got a pretty good striking pedigree. She might have a length, height, and reach advantage against Nunes, but Nunes is another one that's cerebral in her fighting, especially with the time and preparations she take to face her upcoming opponents. I would not be surprised if you know, I'm not going to be surprised if Nunes wins by domination. The kind of the way she you know, when she goes against really good, like the way she fought Holly Holm is how I see her fighting Megan Anderson, just because, you know, it's either that or she's going to try to grind out the victory against Anderson to suffocate her so she doesn't have the range to capitalize on any kind of striking advantage she might have. And that's not to take anything away from her. She definitely has a striker's chance. I really do like Megan Anderson, but I've seen her, I don't want to say fold, but you know, when I've seen her lose, it's definitely been one of those things that I'm just like, you know, I don't know if it's pressure or stress or maybe an adrenaline dump or whatever. Again, I don't like to take anything because I really like both of them. You know, she was great in Invicta. She's been pretty great in the UFC, and I follow her on Twitch, so it's hard for me to pick against. But I mean, hard for me to say, but I am picking Amanda Nunes to win that one. And then the big question mark is the main event, right? Light heavyweight title fight, light heavyweight champ John Blachowicz, who won it because of the, you know, John Jones vacating the division because he cleared it out. Relatively speaking, he's pretty much cleared it out against Israel Adesanya, the middleweight champion, who's moving up to make this super fight, so to speak. You know, and then if we have to see how Adesanya handles a light heavyweight bout, right? But he's fought big guys, so you know, and his striking is definitely otherworldly, but he's fought big guys against Romero. He's fought guys like Romero, Costa the last fight, you know, so maybe there's not that much of a change for him, you know, because who knows what those guys come in on fight night, right? And again, you hear me talk about dimensions, body type, and ectomorphs. Adesanya is another one who's just been, he's undefeated, right? He's undefeated in his mixed martial arts record, 20-0. You know, that's another unheard of thing. This is another one thing he hasn't been shy about is wanting to test himself, and this is a big test against you know, if he gets the title here, it's definitely going to be the light heavyweight, because it's for the light heavyweight title. You know, it's going to be one of these things where, let's see, I just want to I'm checking you know, Jan's record, he's 28-8. He's only been knocked out twice and submitted once. So it's definitely going to be one of these fights where, you know, it's you got to flip a coin to make a decision, right? Listen, I like Israel. I think it's going to go. I wouldn't be surprised if the fight goes. Maybe I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this is one that goes to decision. If it's one of those things, if Adesanya picks up his first loss, just because of the change in weight, but it's really a coin toss. This one I really can't pick right now. I have to watch more tape and do more research. So my official pick will be when we submit our picks for over at MMAnews.com. We usually publish those after weigh-ins, but you know, because we try to play it as safe as possible with the most accurate card as possible, given the situation with you know, COVID and fights falling apart the day of. But that's it for me. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. Again, sorry for putting this out a little late on a Sunday. The folks that watch it live on my Twitter, just dragging ass here, having to deal with the medication. I didn't want to get it all over my equipment, so I had to let that soak in and dry off as I finish up my antibiotics and all that bullshit that I have to deal with. But if you do follow this on Twitter, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel where this video lives. Again, we got the Eric Anders interview there. More interviews coming. Stuff like this lives there. And of course, for your MMA news, please check out MMAnews.com. That's where the articles that accompany these pieces, you saw me bring up the website, results, stuff like that will be. It is fight week coming this week, so make sure you stay tuned. My 7 takeaways will be there soon after the event Sunday morning, and I'll be discussing it here. So make sure, again, like, subscribe, click the bell notification. I'm tapping out. I'll see you next Sunday. Peace.